Hello there, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at the Japanese part of the week, Stray Cat Rock. If you follow my Twitter, you see I've been watching these films, or my Letterboxd account. Yeah, I've been watching Stray Cat Rock. I've had these for years. I've had this film for years, but I've never watched them. So I'm now trying to go through some of these Japanese basic exploitation movies from the 60s and 70s from Nikkatsu. And I put out years ago that I bought that never watched. So I'm now going through them and really enjoying them. Because I watched certain ones. I watched the Prince of Scorpion film years ago. And I watched Battles Without Humanity and Honour. But I always meant to watch Stray Cat and Gangster VIP, and I never really into watched them. So now I'm rectifying that. So Stray Cat Rock is famous for basically being youth-based exploitation films. There's two different directors. I'm going to read from here who they are. There's Yasahura Hasebe, who's the main director of the series, and there's also Toshiya Fujita, who's the second director of the series. The two stars are Meiko Kaji and Tatsuya Fuji. Really. So Kaji's the leading lady and Fuji's the leading man, basically, in the series. There's a stock of characters, of actors that go through playing different characters. So none of the films are actually linked in any real obvious way. It started off, the first one was about a vehicle for a singer who they wanted to do a film with just because they thought it'd be a good tie-in. That was Meiko Wada, who's this singer, and she became this biker who floated through the film and helped the characters out. But she never stayed on in the series, and it became Meiko Kaji's series basically. She was the second lead in the first film, and Fuji was also in it as one of the villains. And they kind of took over the series after the singer left. And that was often better because they were just so much better screen presences, better actors, and they could carry the series without a problem. They were much better than the singer anyway. The singer was very kind of try to do a kind of Clint Eastwood impersonation, a strong silent type, and she'd do a few songs. But she wasn't really that good. They really shot around and made sure she looked strong, but there wasn't much range to her. And Meiko Kaji was the second lead, but she was the character in that first film that you kind of liked more. So the first film is this biker comes into town, finds out there's the town's ruled with these gangsters, and they've got these kind of political connections, and they're tied to this kind of culty thing that are trying to build up this kind of almost military type of situation within the town, which is kind of based on Mishima's little army thing he tried to build up. But to get money for it, they rig this fight so they can bet on it, have the underdog win, and they can make off with the profits, and that'll fund them for a while and it'll get their thing going. So they rely on one of these guys to do it, and he knows a fighter who they want to lose. He's grew up with him, and this is the thing that will get him into his gang and get into this organisation that will basically make him. He's seen the Meiko Kaji character, and she's trying to tell him, look, this is not a good idea, but he doesn't listen. Turns out the fight goes all wrong. The guy's meant to ditch the fight, doesn't ditch it, he wins the fight. All these guys lose their money and are out for blood against the guy who should have fixed it and failed. And that's basically the plot. The plot of all these films are very basic. You know, there's nothing to them really. It's a very simple plot line that goes through them. That one's a better for a fight, but doesn't. There's other ones. The second film is a heist going wrong. You know, the third one is someone trying to find his sister, and there's all these gang wars. Fourth one's a drug deal going wrong. The fifth one's revenge for love that went wrong. Basic stuff. They're really simple setups. But it's like taking that and then trying to do something with it. So the series has a political edge, because Hasebe, who's the director of 3 of the films, has some political interests, but she puts through the films, well, there's a lot of stuff about racism within Japan, how Japan can be a racist country, especially at that time. And because the Japanese were collaborating with the Americans, and the Japanese youth thought the Americans were fascists, and were sympathetic towards that, caused a lot of friction within Japanese culture. And this one, you see the point of view of the kids who hate these guys and think they're all fascists, and but they're still kind of petty criminals at the same time. So you've got some progression, but you've also the thing that crime doesn't pay. So no matter if they do the crime, there's a good chance they're going to die. So it's they're basically crime movies with political edge, and they are kind of tragedies because most of the films actually have dark endings. The only thing they could have figured out was do not kill off certain characters at some point, so we can keep using them. But they're very different characters through most of the films, and they don't really have a series feel at all. It's just like different stories. It's almost like different stories from one society, and the same actors playing different characters within that society, but it feels like it's about the Japanese society and actors playing different parts. So Fuji, for example, plays the villain for most of the films. He's like he's a kind of scumbag most of them, but he gets all the best parts. Like, apart from the fourth one, he gets the best part in almost every film. Because he's the best actor, and I think a lot of it to do with he made the most of his parts. He was an actor who went on to do good stuff after these films. He used it almost like a calling card. 5 films made for him about a year and a half of each other, and he had parts in all of them. So he always changed his look, changed his character, and always was distinctively different in every one. And he was good at playing the villains as well, and actually playing the first one. He is the sidekick villain. He's not the main villain. By it comes to the time you get to number 3, he's playing the main villain. He's doing a complicated villain. And other parts, he's playing someone who's much more of a likeable loser. So he gets a good range of parts. Miki Niji, she doesn't get as much to do. I mean, she either plays the tough gang boss in parts 3 and 4, or she's the tough leader of the chicks in part 1, but she's upset with the singer actress. But she's a lot funnier, but the other 2 parts she gets to play almost nothing characters. So she gets 3 out of 5 good parts, then the other 2 films she's like a side character in them. But they're the 2 that jump out because when they're allowed to be strong, they're really strong. And they just know what they're doing, they understand the genre, they're just having fun with it. And it kind of feels like, in these films, that one director's much more dedicated than another. Like, I need to go to the booklet again to get the director's names. Like, Hasebe is the guy who seems to have the real drive for these films. He made the good ones. The 3 he made were the really good ones of the series. The other ones had good points in them, but they tended to be a bit longer as films, and they weren't as expressive, and they weren't as focused. Like, Hasebe made the shorter films. His films always ran about an hour 20, and they were really tight, and they were really experimental. Like, he had flash frames, he cut the image up, and the people looking at each other even though they weren't in the same space, but they were talking to each other as if they were in a comic book. He kept it going all the time. He kept looking for interesting angles wherever he went. He kept the pace up. He made sure it never got boring. He was really good in these films. I mean, he did Retaliation as well, and The Massacre Ground were both good films too. Because he learned under Seijun Suzuki. He was an assistant director for him before he became a director. So he was a nice talent in the early 70s. But he never really progressed beyond that. He never really got much after this. Nikkatsu collapsed, and he was just a genre director. So there's a funny moment where in an interview, Fuji was saying he and CB were actually in America when Nikkatsu collapsed. So they went to a jazz festival because they all both like jazz. And the way back, they read in the newspaper that the company they worked for collapsed, which was weird timing. The films themselves tended to be really good pulp. They're kind of the pulp, the way the Japanese seem to be really good at it. They seem to influence, like in the 80s, Paul Verhoeven in America did pulp. the same way, where there was social inflections. So there was the pulp elements, but there was also stuff that actually meant something beyond the pulp. So the Japanese films of the 70s had that, these street rock films. In this third film, it's specifically about racism. Like the character played by Fuji the Baron, he's racist. He hates half-breeds. He's trying to get the half-breeds out of his town. And he's also a problem with women. He's impotent. And he hates anyone bringing it up. And he's meant to have a relationship with the Meiko Kaji character. I'm going to say Meiko Kaji character. Brain went weird there. And he can't really follow through because of his problems. And his kind of mania is the thing that destroys everyone's life. At the same time, my character's looking back trying to find his sister. And because she's damaged, she can't admit that she's a sister, and that causes him lots of havoc. And it's all about half-breeds, and it's all about the damage caused them by Japanese racism in the society, and how people are orphaned a lot in that society, and how these people are just damaged. They can't really communicate with each other, and just the damage that racism causes people becomes a metaphor, and how it causes them to be self-destructive and to actually not be able to take affection by other people who are trying to help them. Like the Kaji character in this one, she's now the leader of the gang, and she's like she was the leader of the gang for all the Hasebe films, and she's trying to help the lead, the guy trying to find his sister, and it turns out the sister is in her gang, and she's trying to help them all the way through the film, and it just never works because just the damage done by society and by people like the Baron who just can't take it, who just have to cause damage because they're damaged people. In Hasebe's fourth film, Machine Animal, you actually have these drug dealers who try to sell acid so that they can escape to Sweden, because one of them's a criminal record and he can't get a job. The other one is a draft dodger from America, who's played by a Japanese actor obviously, and the third one's just trying to help his friends out, and he just wants to leave the country as well. And it all goes to hell because they're dealing with gangsters, and the Kaji character's trying to help them out, and Fuji plays one of the guys trying to sell the drugs. And you see how they're just trying to do one simple thing to get away, and how the corruption of the Japanese system, of the gangsters, of little petty jealousies and greed cause the downfall of everybody and causes people to get murdered left and right, and it's the damage it causes. Within this, they still have to have fun scenes like a chase scene in these mopeds and things, which work really well. But the actual theme of it, the damage done by petty jealousies and petty concerns, rings true throughout. And again, this is very heavy, but it's also done in a light tone. It's done in an hour 20, so you get the point of racism very clearly. Everything's very sharp. In the third one, the Baron kills his own henchman who's been helping him throughout the film because it turns out he's half-breed. It's that kind of idea of insidious racism, how it really affects people, but also we've done within a pulpy narrative. The films by Fujita are much weaker. I don't think he was really into these films. The funny thing is, the films were kind of well directed, but he went on to do Lady Snowblood with Kaji as well, and they were terrific, but these ones are not so good. I'm not sure if he's still learning or what, but the films are longer and the worse scripts, or the scripts haven't been worked to actually make them work well on a pulp level. I mean, I've heard Hasebe actually worked with the writers in the script to make sure the scripts were good. I'm not sure how the development of these scripts went, but the first one, the heist one, where you spend the first half of the movie hanging with these characters, played by Fuji and Kaji and stuff, as a layabouts, you see them up to no good, but they're fun kids who aren't taking life too seriously. Then the second half, they decide to rob this weird religion who are taking money from their own followers, and decide, well, we can justify it to ourselves, we're stealing from crooks. And you see the downfall because of that. And it just feels like it's like a 40-minute film extended to an hour 20, and it just feels, no matter how much stuff they try and do, it's not enough to make the film that much fun. It's enjoyable as it is, but you just feel like you really get 40 minutes of good stuff and you've got another 40 minutes of padding, really, in this film. But it's still better than Beat 71, which is the weakest. It's the last one in the series, it's the weakest And it should not be the weakest. It has a much better plot than well, Jumbo, which was the second one. And this one, this guy's with these hippies. His father doesn't like it, so his father kidnaps him and changes his mind around. But at the time, because the son killed one of the men who came back to get him, his girlfriend is framed for the murder, and you know, tragedy ensues. Basically, the hippies who are with them at the time find out, because the girl and her sister escaped from prison, they find out that the girl was innocent and the guy did it, so they go and try and help their friend, and by doing that, they end up facing up against the father who's corrupt and, you know, causing havoc because he can't accept his son's not who he wants him to be. This father's an authoritarian figure who's just crazy. And it's about the idea of the older generation not accepting the younger generation, and how it just caused havoc and how it caused violence. And it ends up leading to this order of violence with explosive and people shooting each other, and just a tragedy. And it should be amazing, but it's not, because it's too long. And if you feel the length and you feel that there's like subplots that are not developed as strongly as they should be, and a lot of padding, as you hang out with these hippies, there's some fun stuff as you see them conning these journalists to start with to make money, and then you see that they're not all good because they do steal from people, but they're interesting because they stand up for their friends, but it's not developed in a cohesive way because plots are brought up then just fall away, and the narrative is very kind of lacklustre, but it's still an enjoyable film because the cast are having fun. I mean, that's the thing about these films is, no matter how threadbare some of the scripts are for the numbers 2 and 5, the cast make it fun because you have the same cast again. They're working their asses off to make sure it works. But at this point, Kaji had kind of, I'm not sure if she'd given up or not, but she had the worst part in the fifth one. She was barely there. It was almost like she was there for about 3 days or something, because she's got the part that starts the story off, then she appears and is kidnapped, and then the rest of the film she's trying to be rescued. And it doesn't really work, it's a boring part for her. But the big thing with these films is Kaji and Fuji. They're both great in it when they're given a chance really, because Kaji in the first 4, she has some good fun stuff to do. In the second one she's not given that much, but she makes it work. But she's a bit of a supporting part in that one. But in the other ones, she's a boss, she's tough, she's a killer stare, and she's very intimidating. But she's still not flawless. She makes mistakes, and you see the damage done to her dealing with these guys and their racism and their sexism and all the other stuff, when she's just trying to have a good time and protect her friends. And Fuji is just great fun as various villains and rascals just up to no good, but having fun with it. They're just fun movies. They're just really enjoyable, and I'd highly recommend watching them. None of them are that long. Even the weakest ones are enjoyable. You won't have a good time with them, but the strongest ones are really good. The Hasebe ones are really good. I'd highly recommend them. The other ones, not so much, but the Hasebe ones are films to see. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with another one. That's me for now. Right, bye.